If you are walking through betrayal right now, you may be like we were when we were walking through betrayal, that we were desperate and thirsty for healing. If that's you, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about how you can find peace in the middle of your pain and find that intensive healing that you're looking for. So I just remember how desperate we were for our healing, and I'm so grateful. I look back, you know, we've talked about this in other episodes where you were jumping on resources, opportunities for us to go find that healing. Mm-hmm. And even though I didn't want it, I was very open to doing that, because I was desperate for my own healing. And I'll never forget walking into the room where we were about to have a 4-day intensive. And I saw a wraparound couch that would fit 5 couples on it. And I remember on day 1, well, first of all, I remember not sleeping well at all that night, because the next morning meant really facing the hard things that I had never even spoken from my mouth before. And that was really scary for me. And being in front of other couples was also something I had never experienced. So I just didn't know what it was going to be like. And I didn't know, are we going to really get the healing that we're looking for? But I remember walking in, and I think I shared with you that morning, like, I'm going to share first. I'm going first, because I refuse to sit on this couch and wait for all the other couples to share and let this anxiety and stress that's inside of me build up more. I was already so nervous. So I was the first one. I was like, I would like to share first. And I did. And what I received on the other side of me as I shared my pain and hurt and just years of brokenness, I felt this sense of validation, understanding, a presence of peace that I hadn't experienced before in the middle of my sharing.
Lots of empathy.
It was almost like a crashing wave that I was feeling, because I hadn't experienced very much peace up until this point. And you were still learning how to listen to me and how to hear me, and we learned a lot at this intensive around those areas. But that's what I was really receiving as I was sharing with the therapist. I was able to relax and just let the words flow as I was sharing, and their affirmation of what I was walking through, their understanding, their empathy, all of those things made me feel seen and heard for the very first time in my life.
Yes.
And even though we had had a therapist working with us, this was different. This was a deep, like, I felt like they had been through what I had been through, even though they hadn't, because of their understanding and their listening for my pain. And the compassion that they offered, it felt like they were connected to me. And those 2 therapists, still to this day, I love them dearly, because they really made such a difference for my heart. And I've been able to see just how important it is to have that kind of person in our corner when there is a desperation for healing needed. The 4 days that we were there, each day had a different journey to it. We spent the first several days listening to other stories, and what I was really able to see is, you and I are not special.
That's right.
the enemy has not just handpicked us out of a crowd to pick on our marriage. Like, he's picking on every marriage. And I was really able to see through these other couples who weren't dealing with infidelity, they were dealing with other stuff. It's the same.
That's right.
And I got to see that it's all about the heart. Like, the enemy is after our hearts. And he starts long before we're married. And we've talked about this in season 1 a good bit, but the pursuit of the destruction of our hearts starts when we're young, so that when we're married, he can just grow that destruction and divide this relationship, because it is God's picture of his covenant with us, is marriage.
Right.
It's his image of what his love for us is like. And so, of course, Satan doesn't want that in our lives. He doesn't want that picture in our marriage. And what was really interesting, and we tell our couples this, that we work with in intensives, that going to an intensive like this, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You learn so much about things that we didn't know, that it was like 7 years of therapy in a 4-day session.
Let me give a caveat to that. It really is like 6 or 7 years of weekly therapy if you have an open heart and if you're humble and you're engaged.
Yeah. It definitely takes that. And we were that. We were definitely humble, open, and ready to receive whatever healing we could get.
But we also observed those who were not.
We did. And that was really sad to see, because there were other couples that weren't open to God's healing. There was a hardness in their hearts. Like, they were there. I'm not really sure why. But something had gotten them there out of desperation, but that openness wasn't there. And that's what we have seen, and this is what we tell every couple we work with, is all it takes is an open heart. 2 open hearts, and God can transform the marriage. And that's what we got at our intensive. Not that everybody gets that, because it is up to them.
That's right.
To really receive what God has for them. But one thing I have really seen is Satan wants nothing more than to take that mountaintop experience and drag us back to the valley when we get home. Because the real work starts when we got home.
We are meant for the valley, where there's bills and kids and work and all the stuff. But you're right. When we go to that mountaintop experience and we get healing and peace and freedom, he wants to snatch that away. Yeah,
he does. And I remember coming home, and we had an argument that day that we got home. And I'm like, it didn't work. Why did we even do this? Because here we are. But it was different. It was the very first, we call it a vicious vortex of death. The very first argument that we had, that we stopped. We stopped that vicious vortex.
We did.
And we worked through it and got to see each other's hearts through it.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way that gave us this little glimmer of hope that maybe what the tools we did learn work. And if we keep practicing these tools, maybe, just maybe, we can get to the other side and get to healing.
That's it.
And we didn't know what that journey was going to look like. We didn't know how long we were going to have to practice these tools, how long we were going to have to process and heal. But we were able to see that was the intensive, was the beginning of our transformation. And I also want to say the couples that choose the route of like traditional therapy and counseling that you go like weekly, if you're dealing with infidelity, I really want you to hear me. Like, you need intensive care. It's vitally important, because there is a lot to work through, that when it is stretched out over time, you stretch out your healing. And your healing will take that much longer. Intensives aren't for everyone, but here's what I would say, is pray and ask the Lord. Is that your next step? Is that something that you should consider with your spouse? Don't let the money stop you. They're expensive. Like, it just is what it is. We had a hard time coming up with the money. And what I have seen and know is God will provide. If that is your next step, He will provide the resources for you to be able to do that. I promise you He will. He is our provider. And He wants to show you that. But sometimes it takes taking a leap of faith and trust and taking your first step to see that provision come through.
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen with our couples over and over where they don't have the money, but they say yes and they sign up and they put a deposit down and they receive the money through these other avenues. It's just really cool. Or we get donations that are specifically for them. Like, It's just been really cool to see how God provides. And so I would just say, going through betrayal, like, the intensive for us was like a fresh start. It was like it put a stop in one season, and it was like a start to the next season, and that next season was transformation.
I like how you use the word start, not complete.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't finish the intensive and now we're good.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people think is, I went to an intensive and now we're still not well. But this is a lifestyle. It's a continual choice of humility and a continual choice to live a Spirit-led life. That the tools that we practiced, we didn't just practice them in that season. We continue to this day practicing the tools that we teach as a lifestyle.
Yes.
So that's a start of it. But I think we end when we're dying.
Right. Right. And I think overall, like, what I really got from that intensive was I saw your heart. I saw your real heart for the first time ever. That I wasn't looking at your actions. I wasn't looking at your words. I wasn't looking at the past. I was just looking at just you. And I saw your brokenness. I saw your pain. I saw the enemy and what he had done to you. I saw a little boy that was just in pain, that never really had an opportunity to understand what being a man was really all about, what integrity was about. And I really feel like I walked away from that intensive truly knowing you.
Wow.
And also you knowing me in the same way. And that was really special because it allowed us to start this next season of transformation in our lives with me seeing the heart behind the betrayer.
I appreciate you saying that because through my life, I've worked for the government. I worked in law enforcement. I've done all the manly things, and yet I had no idea how to be a man. I had no idea how to be a man of integrity, a man that God called me to be. None of that was a definition of what a man was to me. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that acknowledgement because I've completely shifted my thought process around who a man is and what a man is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just love that you ran after healing with me because that kick-started our healing. It didn't heal us, like we said. It wasn't the fix-all. But it did kickstart us to run. And we ran for 2 years.
We did.
Nonstop, searching for healing, searching for freedom, searching for a thriving marriage and how to have that. And you were right there with me. It wasn't me dragging you. You weren't dragging me. You and I were running hand in hand towards healing. And it allowed, I think, both of us to really step into that season of our life and make it a lifestyle.
Another thing I add is we also ran toward figuring out where to put God as a priority in our lives. Like how to let Him be the Lord and Savior of our lives every day. We learned that process.
Something else that we learned along the way is that you can have spiritual transformation and it be instant. If you receive Jesus, that's an instant transformation. Or if you surrender, that's an instant transformation. Those moments of transformation can happen
In an
instantly.
instant. That's right.
However, that doesn't happen for the body and the soul, which is what got you to the sin and the betrayal and the destruction in the marriage to begin with.
Yes.
And both of us had to go through this sanctification process of reprogramming our body and soul
And mind
to align with our new spirit that was transformed. And that was the work. That was the lifestyle that we had to create. Because we've said that the enemy wants to drag us back. And because the body and the soul are so strong and they have their own agenda, it makes it challenging, but not impossible.
dragging you back to death.
Yes, those old ways of reacting and rather than responding, and
That's right.
unhealthy habits and behaviors and all of that drag us down and keep us from seeing transformation in each other.
That's right. And we have to live a spirit-led life, like it talks about in Romans 8. That has to be a priority, is letting my sinful nature die off and know that it's still available, it's still there. My body and my soul, which is my mind and my will and my emotions, are still going to be dragging me to death.
Right.
But if I live a spirit-led life, like it talks about in Romans 8, I'm going to be controlled by the spirit versus dominated by the sin. And there's a difference.
Yeah, and I'm excited because what we've done with our intensives now is those 2 years of healing. We took not only what we learned in our intensive, but those 2 years of healing and combined it all together for our couples that choose to work with us. And it gives them a more well-rounded understanding of that transformation to really effectively go home and make it a lifestyle.
It does.
And it creates this lasting healing that's available for couples. Not that it's guaranteed, because it takes work, but it's available. And I think it was the 2 years after of us running after healing that made that a lasting transformation available for us.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And so you may be wondering, is this my next step? Is this something that we need as a couple? And I would just say, if you're facing pain, resentment, or betrayal, an intensive approach has helped so many other couples. And it could be the very thing that helps you heal and get the transformation that you're looking for in your marriage. And so we would love to just share a little bit more about our intensives and the program that we offer for our intensive retreats in this little video. Our intensive retreat program is designed for participants to gain a deep understanding of why you and your spouse might say or do hurtful things in the marriage. We identify unresolved issues that may be affecting your relationship. We explore blind spots, past hurts, and negative emotions that are impacting you right now. We provide tools for independent healing, and you'll discover how to manage triggers, negative thoughts, and emotions that hinder your intimacy. You'll also discover a personal roadmap for intimacy and fulfillment in your relationship. If this is your next step, please visit our website at thenoblemarriage.com.
Welcome to Subscribers Corner. This is where we read one of your comments and answer it on our show.
We welcome your comments as you are relating to your own stories and marriages. Today's comment comes from Michelle Maxey-Z3C. I agree about surrendering. I don't see a way out of the pain yet. We've began couples counseling. It is hard. So hard. So much pain to deal with. And God does promise me that He is there, sees my pain, and will make something good come out of it. I just need to be patient.
I really appreciate you sharing so vulnerably. I'm reminded of what I heard Adele say in the last 2 episodes is when you're in a season of hopelessness, when you're in a season of you have no idea where to go, like this hurts to go through this process. We want you to borrow our hope because we've been in hopelessness. We've been in those seasons, and And that was the biggest thing that another man gave me whenever I was hopeless. He said, borrow mine. Here, use mine in this season, because I've already been through it and I have hope now. And so I want to share with you, it is tough. It is tough to go through the counseling and going through all the process of like, is this even worth it, what we're doing? And I'm telling you, God is there to give you comfort, mercy, peace, wisdom. And so borrow our hope as you walk through this process. Continue to keep opening your heart to see what does God have for you in your healing process. And there's no timeline on this, but God does want to walk through you. God does want to walk through the valley with you through this.
And the only thing I would add to that is the importance of surrendering your pain over to God. Because that's what he wants us to do. He wants us to take that heart posture of, carry this burden for me, God, because I cannot do this on my own.
Yes.
And when we do that, he takes it and carries it for us, and then he can turn it for good. But as long as we're holding on to that pain, he cannot do anything with it. Because I'm not allowing him to. And so I would just encourage you to get to a place of complete surrender, where you are saying, your will, God, not my own, even in this pain. And you may be there already, but I would just encourage you to keep doing that, because it's a lifestyle of surrender. It's not just a one-time thing. It's every time the enemy brings it up as a reminder of what I'm walking through, that I can surrender this over and not be the one to carry this burden. And I also just want to thank you for commenting, and thank all of you who are commenting on our channel. We want to gift you, Michelle, the Walking Through Betrayal program. It's the unique path that the Lord walked us through for our healing, for those initial steps after betrayal. And so if you'll just reach out to us in the next 48 hours at hello@thenoblemarriage.com to claim your gift, we would love to give you that.
Great. Let's go to gratitude.
Let's do it.
I want to share gratitude with the audience again. So for those of you couples that are signed up for our group coaching calls that we have every month, I am grateful for you. I'm grateful that you choose to watch every single one of these videos all the way to the end, that you choose to consistently show up humble, open, and transparent, that you actually want something better for your marriage, and you actively, when we get on those coaching calls, you are there to play all out and see, how can I help my marriage? And I'm just grateful for that heart posture that you choose to do that.
And since you bring that up, if you are interested in betrayal group coaching, you can visit our website. We do have open enrollment right now where you can join this group and have immediate breakthroughs in your marriage around betrayal. We would love to walk through that with you and support you in that. So just visit our website and see if that's the best next step for you. And then to continue your healing on this journey, we've created a special playlist for you so that you can go continue with free resources to be able to get more healing and more understanding and clarity of what you're walking through.
Where's it going to be at?
It's going to be right here. You're going to check out that video, and you're going to want to subscribe so that you don't miss any of these videos that are designed for your healing.
Your talk is funny. I like listening to your talk.
Oh, really? Thank you.
You're gonna wanna.
I'll just use my British accent
I love
instead.
your British accent.
Subscribe for more British.
Subscribe for more British.
I love your British accent. I don't have it.
Toodaloo.